Hey folks, this is John Miller, Executive Editor with WV News. We would like to welcome you to Ask the Experts, featuring John Halterman of Beacon Wealth Management. John is the founder, owner, and certified wealth strategist at Beacon Wealth Management. You can find out more at bwmwv.com. And now live from the studios of the Exponent Telegram in Clarksburg, West Virginia, let's Ask the Expert. Welcome to Ask the Expert with Beacon Wealth Management's John Halterman. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, John.
Well, John, it's that time of year. It's time for vacations and the sunshine. Maybe get a boat and go out on the lake, pick up a new convertible. Lots of needs or wants more than needs, let's say. You'll hear people say, well, I don't have the cash right now, but I can borrow from my 401k.
Yeah.
Look, I got all this money in there. I'm only, X years old. I've got 20 more years to work. I can dive into that. What's your thoughts?
You know what? I'm going to tell you, I get it. I get it because who doesn't want nice stuff? Who doesn't want a better house, a better car, campers, and people call me all the time. But the one thing I'll always say, absolutely no. Because it's just crazy to me because I believe, especially the current generations, they are far behind when it comes to retirement because, they don't have pensions. Their 401k is the only thing they have. And I don't really think that people realize or understand how much money it takes to create an income in retirement. And so the one thing I tell them is once you put money in there, never take it out, especially for frivolous things that are going to lose in value because, it just doesn't make sense. Now, there's always a chance that if you have a real emergency, and you're getting ready to lose your home, or you have a health issue, then there's always going to be the exceptions in life. But just for frivolous things that are going to lose value just because you want to have fun, we got to find other alternatives. And we'll talk about this, but yeah, there's definitely an absolute no.
So, do you face that when with the people you work with? Do you have people?
Yeah. Retirees love campers. They love RVs. They love to travel. So they'll say to me, hey, John, what do you think about me just taking this money? A guy called me the other day. He wants a $100,000 truck to take his camper. And he doesn't really have a lot of money in his 401k. And I said to him, your 401k is your income asset. And I said, so if we take from that, then we're going to have to lower your income. And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, think about this. I said, let's say you have $500,000, a simple example, and you're taking $25,000 out a year. And all of a sudden you want to take $100,000 out because you need $100,000 net. At first, I said to him, you have to realize that counts as taxable income. So now all of a sudden you're in a higher tax bracket. In addition to being in a higher tax bracket, okay, you have to sometimes pay penalties on the products you're in, depending on what you're in. And then you owe money on that. And so I tell people, and he's taking out income. And I said, so now you go from $500,000 down to $400,000. And if you take the same income, well, guess what? You're more than likely going to run out of money when you drop your portfolio by 20% without dropping your income. And for younger people, what I always tell them, leverage the banks. I don't care what interest rates are. Interest rates at the banks are still fairly competitive. We're still at 6 and under 7%. And what I always tell somebody is use the bank's money. Utilize that all you can. And if the bank doesn't want to give it to you, well, then you're not credit worthy. Don't go robbing from your own house just to give up your future. Because the one thing I know, we can never make up principal. Unless, of course, you go out there and you get lucky and you get a job that's 3 times better and you can sock it away. But on the average person, principal is a big, big deal. So I never want you to give up your principal like that.
So are there other alternatives if somebody is looking for, because you'll hear something, well, can't you borrow against your retirement or can you do this?
Yeah, and you can, but it doesn't make it sense. Secure Act 2 is going to make it to where we can even do a lot of crazier things, okay? And it sounds great. But you know what? Retirement's never been designed to be an emergency fund or an opportunity fund. And so what I always tell people is when you're divvying up your money, create buckets in your mind, segmentations to where you say, okay, so much money going into an emergency fund, so much money is going into an opportunity fund, so much money is going to be into a capital improvement, and so much is going to be in for retirement. And that money that's for retirement, that's a hands-off money, because I would rather you go ahead and say, okay, you know what, I was going to put away 12%. But maybe I won't put all 12% into my retirement. I'll put some into other things first. But always try to get the company match, because by getting the company match, let's say you work at the government and you get a 5% match, okay? Well, getting that match is a big deal. And so then you can say, okay, money above that match, I'll divvy up into these other buckets per se. But yeah, I would rather you not. Take from your home equity. Take from anything. I don't want to say credit cards because I'm not going to encourage that. But take from your life insurance policies. But your 401ks, even borrowing, because one thing people don't understand about borrowing from your 401k, when you borrow the money, they take your money and they take it out of the market. So now you're borrowing it, and maybe you're borrowing at a competitive rate, but you're also not earning money on that money setting out there. So it's missed opportunity. So I tell people, if it's just for a camper or something, no, because later you may not have a camper because you can't afford it because you just didn't build up enough principal.
Well, one thing, you've talked about buckets before, and that's what it comes down. That's what real financial planning is about. You will sit down with people and say, okay, to get to this amount of retirement, we need to talk about banking this. And then, let's put some money in this emergency fund. Let's put some money in, call it your fun.
Yeah. Mad money.
Yeah.
I love mad money, because everyone should have that because, there's play money out there. I mean, there's things where you say, okay, hey, look, if I don't, if I want to gamble with this money or I want to have extra fun or this is my big opportunity, absolutely. We want to designate that, but we want to plan ahead for that, because I'm not a person who sits there and thinks everything should be retirement. That's not what it is. We got to definitely have balance. But you said it right, is segmenting your money into various buckets so that we can plan appropriately for your future.
Well, I'll tell you what, John, it's always enlightening. Final tips. Obviously, he's a very hard no on taking anything out of retirement.
I am. I'm absolutely a hard no on that,
Any other quick tips you want to offer?
And especially if you're below the age of 59 and a half, because, there's a 10% penalty. Now, people get confused all the time because, at 55 in your 401k, you can start taking out. But what I tell you, if you're below that age, you got to consider the fact that you pay the penalty, you pay the higher taxes because it counts as taxable income. I have clients that come to me all the time, especially in their late 50s. They're saying, hey, you know what? I want to retire and I want to pay off my home. And they say, isn't that a smart thing? And I'll say, tell me why. And they'll say, well, I just want the security of it. And I said, yeah, but the problem is that what's it going to cost you? And it could cost you in the amount of income. It's going to cost you in penalties. It's going to cost you in taxation. So I tell people, if you just don't need that absolute sense of security, then don't do it.
Again, sound advice. John Halterman, Beacon Wealth Management, a wealth of information. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome, John. Thank you.